Ever since I started doing gear reviews here on YouTube and even before YouTube, one of the most common things I got to review are tripods and other support gear. That's probably because, of course, one of the things that I never shoot without are tripods and tripod heads. One of my recent favorite things to review are, of course, geared precision heads because when I was starting out as a photographer, especially when I was starting out doing architectural photography, I always wanted a geared precision head. But at that time, or maybe even until now, I always found them too expensive for what I can afford. A little over a year ago, I reviewed the X Pro geared head from Manfrotto, and I've been using that ever since. But in recent years, there is one geared precision head that I've been wanting to check out simply because it really made a difference in the affordability of geared precision heads. And that is the Benro GD3WH because I think right now and even when it came out, it is and has been the most affordable geared precision head. And this, of course, comes from Benro. It's not so new. I think this has been around for around 4 years now, but it took me a bit of time to actually get my hands on it. So in this video, let's take a look at the Benro GD3WH geared precision head. Geared precision heads have an undeniable benefit for certain types of photography. However, it does require a bit of mastering the controls on how to use it. You can't just start using a geared precision head and expect to have the benefits of what it actually offers. As the name implies, instead of just having one control knob or whatever to control a rotating or revolving head, this one has many different gears that have precise adjustments. Instead of just randomly adjusting in all directions all at once, you control every axis of the movement of the camera through each knob. One knob is for panning from left to right, one knob is tilting sideways, and the other knob is tilting forwards and backwards. Now, obviously, the benefit of this is being able to make very minute and precise adjustments to your composition, especially when the kind of photography that you are doing calls for exactly that. This is very helpful for us architectural photographers, real estate photographers. It's also really helpful for product photography, still life, and for some landscape photographers, it can also be something that they can get used to and start using much faster than a ball head. Now, off the bat, the Benro GD3WH, which actually stands for Gear Drive 3-Way Head, it's right there, is actually shorter than most of the geared heads that I've seen. At the same time, it's also somewhat lighter than the Manfrotto that I have been using for the past few years. It's mostly made of magnesium alloy, plus a bit of plastic on this knob, and a bit of rubber on this knob. It has these 3-angle indicators or monitors that you have on each axis basically that tells you how much you've rotated and how much you've tilted forwards and backwards and side to side. Plus also it's an added design accent which has the typical Benro blue color and logo right here. It also has 3 bubble level indicators, one here on top and one here on this side and another here on this side. Obviously, having them all centered will mean that you have entirely leveled your camera. While these are really small details, I think they're really good because they will help you have a more precise control or a more precise gauge of how leveled your camera is instead of having just one bubble level indicator. Now, this geared head adds about 4.5 inches to the height of the tripod and basically of the camera. And it also has a width of about 5.5 inches. Now, I think this is really light. It's just 740 grams, but can carry 5.7 kilograms. Now, it's not as much as the payload of other geared precision heads, but I do think the 5.7 kilograms is actually enough to carry what most people using this type of head would be using. I mostly use this with either a wide angle lens or a shift lens, plus of course my camera, and that's going to be well under 3 kilograms anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it can't carry way much more. I think even if you use a standard telephoto lens, it would still fall under 5 kilograms, so it wouldn't be a problem. Now when it comes to controls, each of the knobs actually have two layers onto it. There is of course the main knob that makes the precise small adjustments, which means that every turn will have about a few millimeters of movement to it. However, on the more proximal part, there is actually a gear-like knob that you just twist counterclockwise to unlock, and it allows you to make the bigger movements. And this is why I say that you should always know how to use the geared head before you start using it, because you might not know about this secondary knob and you might be turning all the way like that with small movements just to make a huge turn when you could have just unlocked the bigger knob or the bigger movement. Now the movement of the bigger knob is pretty much standard for geared precision heads. However, the movement required for the secondary knob that unlocks the bigger movement, I feel like it's sometimes counterproductive when you are turning it counterclockwise to unlock it, but you also have to turn it clockwise for panning or for tilting or whatever. Now, this might be just me nitpicking, but I do think they could have put a better way to unlock the knob that would not require such counterproductive movement. Again, maybe that's just me. Let me know if you feel the same way. Now, one of the biggest details why I've always been wanting to get my hands on this Benro GD3WH is because of the fact that it is Arca Swiss type when it comes to the quick release clamp. And you probably very well know why you would prefer that. However, one thing I noticed about this is that for you to properly use it, you're gonna have to face the knob of the quick release away from you so that you can comfortably place the camera and have a good view of the knobs and of the indicators. Again, I don't know if this is just me, but I am quite used to having the knob of the quick release facing me so that it's very easy to see and very easy to use. But it's something that you kind of just have to grow into. And if you do face it that way, that means you can see the indicator on the panning right here, and you have full control and reach of the knob. You have the indicator for the sideward tilt right here, and you have full control of the knob as well. And well, if you have to see the other one, it's going to be on the side. And obviously it should be right in front of me. It's just that I am facing the camera and the tripod is not right in front of me right now, but it will be visible, and you also have, of course, full reach of the knob for the forward and backward tilt. In general, I do think that it fits the role of a geared head quite well. I again just have the reservation about these knobs and the front facing quick release knob. Now, I've been using this for a lot of interior shoots and it has been very helpful. I've been using this for architecture and even for product photography. So I've been using it in the studio as well. And everything has been good in general. The experience has been nice, and I do think that the price point is really good considering it's under $200. So if you've been looking at getting a geared precision head but you've been wanting to save, then this is a really good option. Now, when it comes to landscape photography, specifically for one approach for landscape photography using a different tripod, I do have one problem with the tripod. It comes from the fact that it is very short in terms of the height between where the head and the tripod center column meet. With this tripod, which is an old Benro Scorpion, there is no problem because of course you have enough space between the knobs and the other parts of the tripod. The problem only arises when you are using a columnless tripod, a tripod without a center column, such as this Benro Tortoise 34C. The problem is because of the fact that there is very little height between the base or the bottom of the head and the surface of the central joint. And there is barely anything also on the connecting parts of the legs of the tripod. There will be a limitation on the range of motion when it comes to panning. That's because the knob itself will actually come into contact with parts of the leg of the tripod, just like this, and it's gonna keep it from moving. For all the other movements, it's not going to be a problem because the knobs are a little bit higher. So you can actually still tilt forwards. There is a tendency for the backward tilt to also come into contact with the leg. But when it comes to the side tilt, there will be no problem, of course, because the axis of motion is way too far already from the central joint of the tripod. So we use this configuration for very low angle shots when doing landscape photography outdoors. And I can foresee that that's the only limitation or the scenario that you will be limited if you are again using a columnless tripod and the GD3WH. If you're using it with any other tripod with a center column, then you're not going to have any other problem. And of course, that will also not allow you to shoot this kind of low angle because of course you will have the center column right here. So it is still usable in landscape photography, just not in very low angle situations with a tripod like this. It is very useful for architectural photography, for real estate, anything with precise framing and composition, for product photography, even portraits actually, because you might want to be really precise when it comes to camera height and angle. And even for videos, it's also possible to shoot in vertical if you want to shoot in vertical mode for, say, TikTok or IG Reels content. Your screen, if you're going to be in front of the camera, will be right here though, so that's just something to consider, but it's still visible. And there we go. This is the Benro GD3WH geared precision head. It sells for around $179 on B&H. And I will put links even if I don't have affiliate accounts that I've been saying I need to work on. And yeah, let me know what you think of this. And if you have any questions, do leave them down below in the comment section. Of course, again, if you're new to the channel, my name is Nicco Valenzuela. I'm a landscape and architectural photographer. And this channel is filled with tripod and head reviews, along with camera and other tech reviews, plus tutorials for landscape and architectural photography. If you're into all or any of that, then click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.